What's up, Ragin Nation? How y'all doing? This is Alex Yu. You're watching the Ragin Ronin review. In this video, I am reviewing G.I. Joe Retaliation, directed by John Chu. Now, before I begin this review, I just want to let you know that I felt that G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, the first movie directed by Stephen Sommers, was fun and entertaining, but it was not the G.I. Joe live-action film that I expected. First of all, it was missing Cobra, which was the biggest thing I felt that it was missing. Another thing was power suits. Where the heck did power suits come from? I don't remember seeing it in the cartoons, but still, when I really think about it, it was a fun and entertaining movie. It did, appear kind of cheesy, but when you really think about these movies, they are really live-action cartoons. They took the cartoons and translated it into live action, and that's what I got to talk about in G.I. Joe Retaliation with regards to the plot, because when you think about the plot is absolutely ridiculous. A lot of people are criticizing the plot, saying it's silly, it's ridiculous, and it's unrealistic. Well, this is the challenge that G.I. Joe live-action films face. They're trying to bring it to the live-action universe, but the G.I. Joe cartoons have always had a ridiculous plot when you really think about it. It's always about Cobra Commander devising this over-the-top way of taking over the world. Okay? Almost every episode was like that. And it's no different in the live-action film. So I don't know why everybody's complaining about the plot, saying it's unrealistic, because what did you expect, really? This is science fiction, it's fantasy. So I really didn't care about the plot. I just needed to know that it gives the Joes an excuse to fight Cobra. So that's all I really cared about. Now, with regards to the characters, Channing Tatum's back as Duke, okay? And you got Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are awesome, okay? I love the scenes that they're in together because it's got a lot of martial arts and ninja action. But Channing Tatum, I've always liked him. But I just felt that his lack of screen time really kind of messed up a little bit of my enjoyment of the film, because I liked his energy in the first one and I wanted to see more of that. So replacing him comes Roadblock, played by Dwayne Johnson. And I thought he was decent in this movie. I thought he was decent, but I didn't think he was great, because one thing I always knew about Roadblock rather, was that he was really funny. He's not really funny, but he was funny. He was a funny character. He always said funny things, right? Roadblock was more of like a kind of a big Hulk kind of take charge leader, and that's fine, but it's not the Roadblock I remember. Another thing was that that one thing that I felt that I really didn't like about the characters was that the inclusion of characters that really didn't add anything. For example, Flint, played by DJ Cotrona. Man, I always remembered Flint as kind of like he's kind of what can I say? He's a little bit reckless, but he's got a leadership quality to him. Excuse me, just finished dinner. I didn't see any of that in his character in the live-action movie. He did a little parkour, in the first battle scene, and I thought that was kind of cool, and he showed off some gadgets and all that stuff, but, this is not the same Flint I remember. You got Lady J in it. I think she was fine, played by Adrienne Palicki, and also you got Jinx, and I already mentioned Snake Eyes, and what's up with Cobra Commander, okay? Cobra Commander, I was so excited to see him, but he's only really in less than half of the movie. The main villain of the movie is, if you watch the original, you would already know that it would be Zartan playing the US president. And I find that is weak, because I wanted the main villain to be Cobra Commander, but he's only in like a third of the film. And also, so then you have the US president, a puppet version of the US president as the main villain. That is just weak. Okay, I want my villains in my G.I. Joe live-action movie to be actual Cobras, okay? And I feel like there's a total lack of Cobra presence in the film. It's focused more on the Joes than it is on Cobra, and when you see Cobra, they really aren't really doing much Cobra stuff. If you want to see a movie which feels more like a G.I. Joe movie, watch Captain America, okay, the first Avenger. That feels like a G.I. Joe movie. But anyways, another character that I thought was weak was Ray Stevenson playing Firefly. Okay, I did not buy his character at all as Firefly. It was cool, he had all the gadgets and the motorcycles and all that cool stuff, but you have this scene where Ray Stevenson and Roadblock fight in an alley, and I was thinking, this is one of the weakest scenes that I've ever seen. I mean, this scene does not belong in a G.I. Joe live action film. And really, would Firefly and Roadblock really like be a great match? Firefly played by Ray Stevenson looks like an old drunk. And then you have Roadblock, which is like a freaking hulking like wrestler. You know, nobody can beat him. I really didn't buy that fight. It just felt out of place, which leads me to want to talk about the direction in the film, okay? I think John Chu, while he is a fan of the franchise, I felt that he really didn't bring in... I felt that he just kind of got the direction of the film all wrong. Because one thing that was great about the first one was that even though some people felt it didn't feel like a G.I. Joe movie, but they kept the Joes in check. And what I mean by that is that they're always in the headquarters. They're always talking about the mission. There's always a scene which has to do with them fighting Cobra, like, you know, trying to beat the enemy. But in G.I. Joe Retaliation, did you guys notice that there's a lot of scenes that are kind of melodramatic? You know, like, what's up with all the melodrama in this film? It just goes from action to really, really slow. And I don't mind drama. I don't mind drama at all. But there's scenes where they're out of uniform. They're not even in a headquarters. They're they're just walking around in their casual clothing around the streets. And when you're watching those scenes, you feel like, are these guys even Joes? And then there's scenes with Lady J and Flint, and they're just talking, and you know, there's like this exposition that's not needed, and it's just kind of ridiculous, and I just don't think it needs to be there. It's a waste of film time, waste of screen time. So that really didn't work for me. As for the action, oh man, there's only one great action scene in the movie, and it's that ninja mountain fight sequence. It was amazing, like literally amazing. Okay, I've never seen anything like that. I was on the edge of my seat. It felt like a ride. But the rest of the action scenes were just balls. Because all you have is just like brr, 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 brr. You know, that's all you see. Like, it's really just bland and just nothing. It just falls stale. You know, that's the key word I'm looking for. The action eventually falls stale because there's nothing spectacular about it. That ninja sequence was amazing. Speaking of which, do you find that there's two stories going on? I mean, there really is. There's a Snake Eyes story and the Roadblock story, and then they become one. But it's... You know, I find that the Snake Eyes story is the most interesting because he is a cool character, and that aspect of the story it's just so much more fascinating than the Roadblock story, which leads me to talk about more about the Snake Eyes story. What's up with the casting of the RZA as the Blind Master? I didn't buy that at all. It felt like a Dave Chappelle comedy skit when I saw the RZA as the Blind Master. Oh man, so a lot of this stuff didn't work for me. Another thing that I felt that John Chu kind of messed up on in terms of the direction is that while he does love G.I. Joe and the cartoons, and he was maybe the perfect choice for the director according to studios, he really tried to put way too many like G.I. Joe elements in the movie, but give them little tiny screen time, right? For example, the vehicles. Okay, one thing that's great about G.I. Joe, the cartoons, was the vehicles. They're really cool looking vehicles. At least in G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, they introduced vehicles with a bit of flair. Like everybody knew that when these vehicles came out, they were like, whoa, that is cool, you know? And then they give it a big introduction, like when they're introducing the Night Raven, right? It's kind of like how they introduce a Blackout in Transformers, the very first live action movie. It was like, whoa, right? But then in G.I. Joe Retaliation, you have a HISS tank go by, then you have a Cobra's helicopter, and then it's like, these scenes are so short. And then there's this one scene where Roadblock drives in this tank vehicle, and he's shooting down these HISS tanks, right? But the HISS tanks aren't really doing much. You just see a close-up of Dwayne Johnson, you know, driving, and then all of a sudden he's firing missiles, and then you see a close-up of a HISS tank blowing up. Okay? And I was wondering, like, I don't even understand the whole geography of that scene. Like, where are the HISS tanks in reference to Roadblock's vehicle? And you know, the whole scene just didn't make any sense to me. It was just a bunch of random action flashes. You know, his tanks are really cool vehicles, but John Chu didn't even give it the justice it required, it needed, or it deserved. For those scenes, because I really expected with with all these cool vehicles, they'd have like a pretty sweet car chase or vehicular destruction sequence. So as you can see, I'm doing a little bit of nitpicking, but you know, I'm a fan of the original source material, and I'm trying so hard to review this movie as just a movie with a biased opinion, but I find that I was only really entertained in certain scenes, okay? Like a lot of the scenes I felt were, you know, I'm waiting for it to get better and better and better. Finally, it gets to the ninja sequence, and then boom, it's gone. It was awesome, but it was done, and then the rest of the movie just kind of falls flat. So, you know, I really, no, I'm not going to apologize for my opinion. It's my opinion. Anyways, I know some people thought it was entertaining, but I'm pretty sure that's all they felt. I don't think any G.I. Joe, true G.I. Joe fans really felt that this was the G.I. Joe film that they were waiting for. You know, there's going to be another one. There's already a third one announced, so yeah, that's going to be, hopefully it's going to be great, but please don't get John Chu to make this movie, because yeah, it's not his thing. One thing that I gotta talk about is that the exclusion of Destro, okay, was didn't do it for me, okay? I really wanted to see Destro and Cobra Commander bickering just like how Megatron and Starscream bicker all the time. And I also felt that what was up with the stupid removing and putting back on and removing and putting back on and removing and putting back on of masks? Why wear masks if you're gonna keep on removing them? It makes no sense to me. And, you know, here's another nitpick thing is that, you know, shouldn't the ninja sequence should have been at the end of the film? That way we have a lasting impression. Why did the director feel that Roadblock versus Firefly would have been a big fight? I mean, like a really big climactic fight scene that would end it in a satisfying way. You know, are you serious? First of all, like I said, you have the Hulk versus an old drunk. Who's really gonna win? Seriously. I didn't really buy that at all. Come on, Ray Stevenson has nothing on The Rock, okay? This is like solid, you know, beef. So that didn't work for me at all. And plus they're fighting gun kata style, you know, if you saw Equilibrium, they're doing the gun fu. So it was like really just something that I really didn't buy it. You know, I didn't buy any of it. I really just liked the ninja sequence, but that's it. Everything else just really felt bland to me. And what is up with the inclusion of Bruce Willis? Okay, at least Dennis Quaid felt like he played the part really well. Okay, he played the role fittingly. But Bruce Willis, I only can think of John McClane. The John Chu directed too much of an iconic actor, like Mr. Action, Mr. Die Hard, John McClane. Why would you cast him in this movie and thus distracting and making him upstage all the other actors, because he just has this bit of a presence, you know, as John McClane in the Die Hard franchises. Anyways, a lot of the stuff didn't work for me. I apologize for ranting, but I really expected more from this movie. I had really high expectations, and they weren't met. The ninja sequence was awesome, and don't watch it in 3D. Unless you're just watching the ninja sequence, because the 3D did look great at the ninja sequence, the mountaintop fight, but everything else was just, it didn't need to be there. We did not need to wait 9 months for this movie just for the 3D, because it really didn't contribute to the film in any way. All right, so there you have it. 5.5 out of 10. 5.5 for effort. The ninja sequence was cool, but everything else just was flat to me. So that's all I gotta say in this movie. Let me know your thoughts about this movie. I know some of you guys might really like this movie, and some of you guys might feel the same way, but like I said, I had some really high expectation, and I kind of set myself up for disappointment, and maybe that's my own fault. But, well, we'll see what they do in the next one. Anyways, as always, if you enjoyed this review, hit that like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation, and also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name is Alex Yu. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. So anyways, with regards to the action, Gerard Butler, he is a kick-ass type of hero. I like his hero. It's kind of like the John McClane of